Welcome to Craig Back Show.
Yes. Okay. Welcome to Katie Black Show. I'm with exciting guests. I'm with Rob, the owner and operator of Rhino Market and Deli in CLT.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Katie, for having me.
Thank you so much for joining. Well, first off, before I get into the story of Rhino Market, where are you from?
I am from Detroit, Michigan, a suburb of Detroit called Sterling Heights. And I moved to Charlotte about 25 years ago.
Oh, wow. Well, first off, what was growing up in Michigan like?
It was awesome. It's a great state. You know, it's cold, but it's cold and cloudy, but we were one of the top education states for a long time. So we all had great educations, and I went to a small college there at Central Michigan University, and I loved Michigan. I still do. My mom still lives there.
Very cool. Well, I know weird stuff, and I know a lot of artists are from Detroit, Michigan area. I think of Aretha Franklin and Eminem.
Oh yeah, you go down the list. Jack Black.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's a lot. I can't think of now. I'm going blank, but Kid Rock.
That's right. Ba with the ba.
There you go.
So what made you, or how'd you get to Charlotte?
I graduated from Central Michigan, and I wanted a change of pace. And I had some friends that were moving down to the North Carolina, Triad and Charlotte area, and I thought, oh, I'll move down there and see what we could do.
And so what do you think when you got here?
25 years ago, wasn't much going on in Charlotte, but I think that at some point in my stay here, I wanted to make something of my life here in Charlotte. I never knew exactly what that was going to be, but I think in the back of my mind, I was not, this is where I was going to live, and I wanted to make something happen here in Charlotte.
So I ask a lot of people, again, it's great that you've been here for a huge chunk of time. I grew up here. What's your vibe of all the growth that's happened? Obviously if you're a business owner, I'm sure that's great, but do you think it got to be too much, or was it awesome? Or
I think I simultaneously have grown with the growth of Charlotte, and obviously I'm enjoying it because my stores, I could plop stores in areas where they're needed, and there's all these people and all this economy and all this, growth happening in all these sectors within the Charlotte city, area. So yeah, I'm loving the growth, and I think it's fine right now, but you could tell that there's going to be issues down the road for sure.
Yeah. Now, uptown or downtown? What do you call it?
Downtown.
Downtown.
I call it downtown because I think that's the proper terminology. Are we going to rename a city? Are we going to rename instead of calling it the city of Charlotte, we're going to call it Up City of Charlotte? I don't know. It feels fake to me. Honestly, I think it was a rendered, name to drive activity to downtown Charlotte 35 years ago.
For sure.
And now it's obsolete, and you should call it downtown.
It's interesting because I feel like I always called it downtown, but then I feel like since being back, because I went away to Florida for a minute, I feel like I got brainwashed for people correcting me, being like uptown. I'm like, whatever.
Yeah, there's certainly that, but no, put your ear out there. People are saying downtown again.
Downtown's back. It's true.
I think. It's downtown. It's uptown was always a term for when you had a down and an uptown. You had two. You had a midtown, you had a downtown, and you had an uptown. Like we kind of have Midtown where a Target is. There's not much there though, you know. In a way, you know, in all actuality, you know, South End could be Midtown and downtown could be downtown. In a way, but
I agree. I haven't thought of it that way.
Yeah, you're not going to change that, but whatever.
Right. So Rhino Market, yeah, like what's the story behind the name Rhino?
Rhino Market came from my wife and I just kind of brainstorming a name for a market like we have, and I wanted something playful, and I think she understood the same thing, you know, and I wanted a mascot from the beginning, so I had this idea of a rhino, like a, you know, flat image of a rhino as the mascot, and then you know, playful, and you know, kind of flows. Rhino Market and Deli. There's no, you know, hiccups there.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing was people tend to abbreviate a name of a business anyways, automatically. So, hey, where are you going tonight? We're going to, there's a bar called Thomas Street Tavern. We used to call it T Street. You know, where are you going? We're going up, you know, we're going to, I don't know, town for a town brewery, or, you know, people tend to shorten things up. And I thought, man, if we could get this name out there with the logo and the image, eventually people will know us as Rhino.
Yeah.
And they do. Now they do. Like, I have hats that just have an orange rhino on them, and that's symbolic of everything that we do. So
sure.
It was kind of fun to come up with the name. I think it ended up being like, you know, you go through these names and you say Hippo Market and Deli. Doesn't sound good, right?
Right.
You know, like Butterfly Market and Deli. Not really. You know, and you just start throwing them out there. Really, some people are really good at naming things, and some people, you know, I think you don't want to be too cheeky with it. And I think ours is just right in the playfulness, but serious.
No, I agree. Well, and also just even too, if someone's like, hey, I'm at Rhino, like you don't even have to say Market and Deli, you know?
You don't. Now, you do have to signify it for people that don't know who you are. They can at least say, oh, there's a deli nearby. You know, oh, there's a little Market and Deli nearby.
That's true.
So
now I saw that you have 4 locations. Like, could you go out on a limb and say what's your favorite location?
I would still say I like my downtown location for whatever reason. I'm actually down here right now, and I have a bigger office here. And it's like the hub of all the Rhinos, and it's centrally located, so I could get to all the stores within a matter of minutes. But when this store is kicking butt, you know, there's a vibe to it that downtown lacks, I feel like. I think we add a vibe to the downtown office scene that is different than everything else down here.
No, I agree.
So, and I always thought that, again, going back to uptown, downtown, I always thought that downtown was for somebody else. Like, me and my friends always lived in the east side or somewhere around downtown, but we never went downtown because there was nothing really to do, or there wasn't a vibe to it. And I always thought that was kind of, you know, wrong. I thought, why can't we use downtown? Now, obviously, now there's the baseball stadium and parks and museums and really nice hotels now with the Kimpton, and now Rhino Market's down here. So there's getting to be a vibe downtown, which unfortunately the pandemic has kind of screwed all that up. But it's going to come back, and this is the store that I think has the most potential to do a lot of business when the office workers are back.
Very cool. Well, speaking of the pandemic, yeah, I've talked to some other business owners, especially in the food industry. Can you put like in a nutshell, like what has that experience been like?
Oh man, in a nutshell, nuts.
We don't have to, no pressure, but I'm sure you could tell me, you know.
In a nutshell, nuts. I mean, we're still reeling off it, and we will be for another whole year, even if things are normal in, you know, January or February. Our industry won't be normal, you know, and I think a lot of our similar industries won't be normal, you know. I was thinking today how we can't get the bread that the main bread that we use for our hot sandwiches, the ciabatta. We're sourcing it from 4 different places, and it's not the same bread; it's a different bread. And that's just the nutshell of what we are experiencing.
Right. Yeah. I think just people that are outside the industry that just have no idea what's going on. Yeah. Like they're not thinking about like there's shortages of like so many random things that you would never think of, you know, like I would never think of bread.
I mean, I don't know. I'm a little afraid of produce at some point, although produce, the interesting thing is like produce can grow and they can get it to grow, but they have to find people to pick it. They have to find people to pack it. They have to find people to ship it. And all those sectors are affected, every single one of them.
Mm-hmm. Now, as far as like the mask mandate, is that something that you tell your employees to like enforce for customers to wear? Or do you feel like people are just exhausted with that whole song and dance of forcing someone to put on a mask?
So when the last mandate came, I said, yes, we're going to, you know, put the sign up in the window and per the instructions of the, you know, but are we going to get in an argument over it? No, we're not. Are we going to, you know, that's plain and simple. We're not getting an argument over it. If they don't want to wear it, they don't have to wear it. Not cool, I don't think, because if everybody else is doing it, you should too.
Right.
But my whole thing is I want to protect my employees, and I don't want, and to do that, you can't have them say, if you don't wear it, you know, all that stuff leads to chaos. It really does. And, you know, when you walk in a place like Rhino and 98% of people are wearing a mask and you don't want to wear one, then just go somewhere else if you feel uncomfortable. You know, like we're doing it. And, you know, now we're not trying to turn away people because they're not wearing a mask either. So.
No, I understand. Yeah. My sister always says it's like, this is a group project. Like, yeah. Are you going to help us pass the project or?
That's a great point. That's a great point.
Now, not pandemic related, but I'm always curious of businesses that serve alcohol. Is there a rule that either the state gives or that you tell your employees? Like, how do you like cut off somebody?
Oh, wow. There is a rule. The state, I guess it is a kind of a law in that we're supposed to monitor our guests. And it is our job to monitor our guests. If they are at a place where we, you know, an example would be we've served them 4 or 5 drinks. We feel like they're too tipsy to have another one. We cut them off. Okay. There's another example of we've served them 1 or 2 drinks. They are tipsy. We have the right to cut them off. Because we have no idea where they were before they arrived at our location. So in-house, that's the way we handle that. As far as people, you know, walking out with a beer onto the street, you know, or taking a beer that's closed, and then as soon as they walk out the door and they crack it open, that's no longer our responsibility. And I've had that conversation with the police because of the downtown location, especially. with football games, like, well, what do we do? And they said, well, as soon as they hit the street, they could do whatever. It's still illegal, but
That's on them.
it's on them. And, you know, downtown turns into a giant tailgate party. You can walk down the street with the beer in your hand downtown without, just don't act like a wild man, and you can probably get away with it.
Interesting. Well, yeah, my parents are going to the Stones tonight. So
Yep.
I wonder are you prepared or you just have a heads up that you're going to have a crowd tonight or?
Yeah, I don't know what we're doing about that. I actually, that's fun to say that because, I don't run the stores operationally on that level. I will give them a heads up of some things, but, I hope she has enough staff for tonight. Yeah.
Time will tell, right?
Yeah. Don't say anything.
Also, what I love, I mean, not that I'm a full vegetarian, but I've noticed that you do have lots of vegetarian options. And I was wondering, is that because you or your family are vegetarian, or you just know people that are, or you feel like that's like just to be nice to all customers, or?
A little bit of all that, honestly. You know, I've always thought of myself as a part-time vegetarian. Like there's days where I don't eat meat.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a matter of years of trying to eat right. And, you know, some days where you're like, well, I didn't eat meat for breakfast, and I might not eat meat for lunch, and maybe I'll just keep on going and not eat meat for dinner, and just leave it at that, and not miss out on anything. Now, 2 days later, I'm craving a steak, but so be it, you know. But then, yeah, you're right. I think there's a lot of people out there that, you know, deserve to have more options. You know, I think a lot of delis don't do that enough.
Right.
Like this meat. And I wanted to have a creative kind of vegetarian menu too, where there's different styles of options and not just like raw vegetables wrap in a wrap, you know.
No, yeah, props to you, because I think that's, like I said, I mean, I kind of am more aligned with what you said, where, yeah, maybe part-time vegetarian throughout my life. So I think it's cool that you have so many options like that.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. So fun, like pop culture stuff. So one of my favorite things about your locations is that you have like literally a picture of iced tea over like the dispenser of the tea.
Yeah.
And so I was wondering, are you like an iced tea fan, or is that just a creative mind that you have?
That was an employee who came up with that years ago.
Okay.
I think it was it, or me and the employee combined, and I said, yeah, put it up there. I think that's hilarious. And then Ice Cube is on the Ice Cube dispenser as well. I don't know if you saw that or not.
Oh, really? Okay. No, I just thought, I don't know. That made me smile.
Oh, pretty.
So,
And I play hip hop at all locations, and I like mandate that it gets played. So it is our vibe, you know, like we're in tune. We're in tune with, you know, the hip hop culture.
I love that. Well, speaking of culture and pop culture, yeah, like growing up, like, yeah, did you have like a rap group you like, or an individual rapper or band or artist, or like, did you have posters on your wall of somebody?
Oh man, I was definitely like Run DMC and Beastie Boys and Public Enemy. Probably Public Enemy was probably, and NWA, which is kind of the, you know, raw version of all those. But I grew up listening to hip hop. I did not listen to rock and roll until I went to college, and then I was like, oh wow, there's a whole nother world of music out here, which was kind of cool. Being from Detroit, we had really good urban music channels, at least 2 or 3 of them, that played music throughout the nights on the weekends, where there's a live DJ on the radio that would play. Yeah, that would play all this, you know, anything from tech, like real true techno, to house music blended in with Prince and Public Enemy and Beastie Boys and old school funk. So when you grow up with like that, you tend to draw towards that type of music all the time.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I think it's interesting to ask people like, yeah, what kind of music they grew up on.
It is. It definitely has an influence. I was in one of my kitchens the other day, and the kids were listening to an old school R&B channel on Pandora or whatever, and I'm over there singing all the songs, and they're like, "What you know about blah blah blah?" And I said, "I grew up in Detroit. I know all of this and maybe more than you do, honestly, because that's all I listen to."
Right.
But it's a definitely an influential factor on a lot of people's lives.
Very cool. Well, also too, I ask about like different parts of the country. So, I feel like people from Michigan are like more upfront in your face, like no BS. And like obviously here, I guess I don't want to say like bless your heart, but I'm not really going to be upfront about how I feel. So, which do you connect with more? Like, do you prefer people just sticking it to you straight, or do you like the manners thing, or?
I want you to be upfront and direct with me. I don't like beating around the bush. I'm an upfront and direct guy, and that's definitely a Michigan thing and a Midwest thing. I don't like that it's categorized like that. I don't think it's fair to for Southerners to pick on Northerners for that particular style. I don't know if it's necessarily cool to pick on Southerners for their style, but I do like the merging maybe of
Both.
different styles to a closer to something that we could all work with, like California has the laid back dude kind of vibe, New York is definitely aggressive and to the point. I don't know. It'd be nice if everybody was a little bit closer to the same.
No, I agree. I agree. I guess I'm a little bit, even though I'm like from here, when I went down to South Florida, even though Florida is its own entity, I don't know. I feel like I'm a little bit of both. Yeah, it's a nice mix.
I think you are too. Just from this short conversation, I've lived in Florida a couple times. Like I worked for the Mouse, and then I lived in the Florida Keys for a little brief time. And Florida is a melting pot, so you can't get away from being around people from upstate New York, New York City, Massachusetts, Michigan, Ohio, and I think Charlotte is turning into that exact thing, where you cannot help but have to accept everyone immediately because they're all right next to you. All those states are right next to you wherever you go, in a restaurant and in your office. All those states are represented. Pittsburgh Steelers jersey, Philadelphia Eagles jersey. And that's one thing I do like about Charlotte is the melting pot is definitely here. And going forward, think about 10 years from now, where all these kids that are gonna, be born here, but they'll still have that thing from where their family came from. Rhino is definitely influenced by northern and southern things. Like I had to have a pimento cheese sandwich on the menu, right? I mean, you got
Yeah.
We're adding a grit bowl to the menu next month. Yeah.
Oh, exciting. I love grits.
Yeah. Well, and it was like enough people asked for it, and I thought, why not? I love grits.
Right.
I don't eat them very often, but I love them. And there was no reason to not have them on there from the beginning. Just that, other than I didn't think there was that much demand for it. But anyways.
No, that's exciting. I'll have to come check it out when it drops.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Okay, 2 more questions. Okay. I ask people this just because I was inspired by Unsolved Mysteries, the old ones with Robert Stack.
Love them.
The unexplained segments. So have you ever seen like a ghost or like felt something really weird that you can share?
Yes. Should I tell you the name of the establishment I was at?
Yes. I mean, if you're comfortable, this is an open space.
Well, this is a great story. Stagioni's on Providence Road
Okay.
is haunted, and a lot of people in Charlotte know that.
This is my first time. I love it.
Oh, you got to get into this. So there was a lady named, I'm forgetting her first name, but her last name was Gorbanchenko, and she was married to a Reynolds, and she was a eccentric European woman, and I don't know exactly how it happened, but they moved to the States and they moved to Charlotte. She wanted to build a house that wasn't traditional, so she built this Italian villa looking thing on Providence Road. And throughout the years, especially during the Prohibition, when she lived there, she would do speakeasies behind a fake door upstairs in her house and have huge parties and, you know, people drinking, but they're hiding behind a wall, a fake wall.
Right.
So I think her general passion, and maybe the fact that she died in the house, she still haunts the house today.
Oh.
So I was at Stagioni's a couple years ago, and I'm there with my wife, and I felt someone touch my shoulder. And I thought, okay, well, who touched my shoulder? And I looked around, and my wife said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Somebody just touched my shoulder." She said, "No one even walked anywhere near you to touch you on your shoulder." And I said, "Okay, well, then," and we were just talking about her, the lady who was haunted the house.
Oh.
So it was immediate, like, bam, I got this like pretty nice pressure on my shoulder. So I ended up telling the owner of the restaurant, because I know him pretty well. I said, "You know, your ghost just touched me on the shoulder," and he's kind of was like, "Yeah, that happened. You know, yeah, that happens." So yeah,
That's
I'm
awesome.
into it.
Well, maybe she was just like, welcome, right?
I think she was. It was definitely a nice gesture. It wasn't to scare me. Definitely like, I hear you, or I'm here with you, or whatever it was. So it was kind of cool.
Yeah, I love that. Now I'll have to like look into I'm all about stuff like that. That's awesome.
Yeah, maybe I don't know how you would go Google it, Gorbanchenko Reynolds house or something like that.
Very cool. Okay, so last question. What would be like your last meal?
Oh, wow. Probably, like, if it was possible, because this is a weird, like, well, no, I would say my mom's like spaghetti and meatballs, but she would be long dead before I die. So
Right.
I would still say that, like, if there's a way to reproduce it and it land, you know, in front of me as I was dying, that would definitely be it.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, that's it.
Thank you so much.
Yes,
That was
Rob.
fun.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad. I always want people to have fun.
Yeah, you do a great job with the interview process, and you have good questions and do a good job.
Thank you so much.
Welcome, and nice.
Sorry, you just cut up. What'd you say?
I said nice to meet you.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, one day I'll pop in there, and if you happen to be there, I'll meet you in person.
That'd be great. Yeah, I would love that.
Awesome. Okay, well, you guys, thank you for joining me. Rob, thank you for joining me. Obviously, check out Rhino Market. There's 4 locations here in town. They're awesome. They've got a couple Instagram handles, so check them out. Great sandwiches.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Katie Black. You're amazing. Thank you, love.
I love your energy.
Yes,
I
great
do.
energy.
I love it.
What up?